Hey there, this is Matt with SteadyFlex here to give you a ranking video of the Universal Monster movies. Now, I'm not doing every Universal Monster movie. There's some absurd amount, like 60 plus, that came out between the 1920s and the late 50s, I want to say. I'm not doing all of them. That would be insane. Instead, I'm giving you the ranking of what I find to be the core 8 or 9 movies. I've added one. This is the collection that is usually packaged when you buy the physical media of the most important installments of the franchise. So I thought I'd watch them all and rank them, because I haven't seen a lot of these movies since I was a kid, and some of these movies I just straight up had never seen up until recently. So I had fun with this. So we're going to start with the bottom of the barrel and work our way to the top. In my number 9 spot, we have The Mummy. Outside of Boris Karloff's pretty good performance, this is really kind of a meh movie. It has neat ideas and some neat cinematography or set design here and there, but otherwise it is pretty bland film, like bland. And it's not lost on me that this movie doesn't even seem to have much of an impact on the remaining installments of its own franchise. I don't think it's bad, and I don't even think that those movies are necessarily better than this one, but they have movement to them, and they have imagery evocative of what you think of as a mummy, which this film just straight up lacks. And it's those movies that had the cultural zeitgeist that lingered on, not necessarily this movie. I think this one just kind of gets a soft pass because of the Karloff of it all. It's not a bad movie, but it is certainly the weakest of these 9 films. In my number 8 spot, we have the The Phantom of the Opera 1943, not the silent film, because that, oddly enough, is not packaged often with the set. But the 1943 film is, and I think it's because it's shot in glorious Technicolor, and it's the only Universal Monster movie to be nominated for an Academy Award. For, I believe it's costuming, or maybe it was art direction, both of which are extraordinary. But this film, after its pretty engaging opening sequence, or segment, opening act, kind of falls to a series of repetitive scenes that, dare I say, this movie has too much opera. You need to pump the brakes on the opera movie because there's too much of it. And I know that's a weird thing to say because I am reviewing Phantom of the Opera. But you could easily lift several of those scenes and just leave the one crucial operatic scene where you have the Phantom cutting the chandelier. And that's all you need. You don't need the other ones. It's not a full-blown musical, and if it was, you need better music. This movie is just kind of blah, and the makeup work is also really weak, especially compared to a lot of the other movies in here, some of which came out like over a decade before this movie did. So it's wild to me that this is kind of included. This one, I think, is in a lot of ways the worst of the lot as a whole, but I really do like that opening act. So that's why it just gets the slight nudge above The Mummy. In the number 7 spot is, controversially, Dracula. Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frye own this movie. Their performances are absolutely nothing short of magnetic. But everything else about this movie is pretty lackluster, especially the ending, which, spoiler alert, Dracula just fucking gets killed off screen. It was like the most anticlimactic thing I have ever seen. You spend your slight 70 minutes building up this larger-than-life villain who is, as I said, purely magnetic in his performance, and you don't even do anything with him in its climax. Like, what the heck? This was, this one almost angered me because its last act just seemed to be not present. Did they run out of money? What happened here, guys? I don't get it. I thought about watching and adding here the Spanish version of it that they filmed in tandem with this movie, using the same sets and everything, but I just didn't have it in the timeline. So let me know, does that one have a more dynamic ending, or, you know, an ending? Because this movie, like, Helsing just kind of like, well, job's done, guys. And that was it. That was it. Why? Moving forward are all movies that I would firmly recommend. Number 6 spot is The Wolfman. This one gets the recommendation because I think Lon Chaney gives arguably the best performance of anybody in any of these movies. He is fan-frickin-tastic in this movie. He has a kind of haunted quality to him just to begin with, but it reads through so perfectly as a man cursed. And we'll touch on him once more later, but that performance in this movie is quite good. It was nice seeing Bela Lugosi in there, that kind of is the catalyst to launch everything that happens in the film. I like the mysticism, even though it's problematic and dated by today's standards, within the film. It worked for me, and I quite liked it. Weird thing about this, I really like the poem that they say about the wolf's bane and all that kind of stuff. No moon is really shown in here, certainly not a full one, and that for something that's so crucial to the lore that lingered after this film, it's so weird that this film doesn't seem to have that. Interesting. In my number 5 spot is the honorary inclusion of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This really acts as a capstone to the Universal monster movie kind of lot. It's really funny. It's really good. The horror plays. I watched this with both of my children, and my youngest, like, the horror played for her. She was not a fan of Frankenstein's monster at all. But the humor played for both of them as well. They were both giggling and laughing, and they really loved Abbott and Costello and their interplay. And I really had fun with that. And I think it's a shame that we don't get more of these kind of movies nowadays. I know that there was... Kevin Smith talks about how he almost made a Jay and Silent Bob meet Hellraiser and Michael Myers when everything was under Miramax years and years ago. And it's a shame that we just don't have that. Or, like, take any of the characters that are out there. Like, we should have gotten a Harold and Kumar, or certainly he can even still do a Jay and Silent Bob Meet the Monsters kind of thing. I think that would be fun as hell, because this movie was where it's at, and it was fantastic that they got Bela Lugosi to reprise his role as Dracula, and Lon Chaney, who has aged into perfection as his Wolfman character. It's just shattering to me that Boris Karloff didn't return for the monster. What could have been if he was there? But I really like this movie. It's really funny, and has that great rotating door scene that I think inspired Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, one of my favorite scenes in that. And as I say, my daughters were like giggling throughout this thing. They enjoyed it. It plays today even still. In my number 4 spot, you have The Invisible Man. And this is the movie that convinced me that James Whale was probably the best filmmaker of his era. I had never seen this movie prior to this viewing, and there are multiple shots in this film that I have no idea how they were able to accomplish it. Like, some of the special effects are still awe-inspiring today, like nearly 100 years later. That is damn impressive. It's got good performances across the board. It has a phenomenal opening act. I think arguably the best opening act of any movie in the Universal lot comes from this movie. It's so incredibly engaging. And, well, it kind of spirals into more of a comedic tone in the last half of the movie, whether or not it was intentional. All of it still plays really well, and I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. The Invisible Man, if you've not seen it, is worth your time. In the number 3 spot, we have creature from the Black Lagoon. I think this is the most exciting of the Universal Monster movies. It has a fantastic energy that drives the thing, a great, beautiful damsel who's well played in the film. And the creature and the creature design is great, but the cinematography in this all the way through is stunning. The fact that this didn't get a nomination for its cinematography is like just baffling to me, especially since it was filmed in 3D, and maybe that's what held it back, or the fact that like all those underwater shots and the beautiful majesty of watching the creature watch the woman swim, and then they're both doing kind of like this ballet underwater is lovely. It makes sense that The Shape of Water was inspired by this movie, and it makes me happy that that movie did in fact win Best Picture, because for my money this movie is one of the best of the lineup. In the number 2 spot we have Frankenstein. Now, I want to give this number 1 because it is so incredibly impressive, but we'll get there. This movie is fantastic from start to finish. I think it has the best pacing of any of the Universal movies. It's really quite well written, really well acted by everybody, especially Henry Frankenstein. Holy crap, he gives a performance. And I love the visuals. Again, James Whale knocks it out of the park. Boris Karloff as the monster is like both sympathetic but also menacing, and relatively repugnant to look at based on the makeup and whatnot. Dwight Frye is fun. Everything about this movie is really, really quite great, right down to the framework of like starting the movie with a warning to the audience that what they're about to watch is so depraved and macabre, maybe you should go home if you're not prepared. Genius. What a great way to open a movie that like just has your attention wrapped to it from the get-go. The biggest issue with this movie, and the only real complaint that I have, is Frankenstein is one of my all-time favorite stories, favorite novels, and it's a terrible adaptation of that book. That being said, what they deliver here is great. Is Henry Frankenstein a little too, like, sympathetic for my liking? Yeah, he's ultimately the villain of the book, I feel, and they made him far more sympathetic, yet he has that mad quality that I had a dream in my high school days that I would become a filmmaker and whatnot, and in my 20s do a remake of Frankenstein. I wanted Jim Carrey to play Henry Frankenstein, or I would have called him Victor, but to play Frankenstein, because he has that mad energy, but also this pure dramatic like lean. And every time I watched this performance, it just reminded me of Jim Carrey. I would love to have seen him in that. Anyway, I love Frankenstein. It's one of my favorite movies, outpaced only by Bride of Frankenstein. Now, is that a shock? No, I think this is considered by most to be the best movie of the entire lineup. And I get it. Bride of Frankenstein is the best. And it lulls you into thinking that maybe it won't be, because the opening act is almost just a touch abrasive and annoying to the point where you think you're watching a really well-crafted but lesser version of its predecessor, up until it swings way past. The moment that the monster starts fleeing into the woods, the movie picks up and makes its emotional anchor of the film the sympathy you have for the monster as it's being pursued continually from the people that just in the previous movie we condemned these actions. This time we really, really want to condemn him, because we see the goodness in him, and once he finds his voice with the blind man in the woods, and there's that camaraderie that is established, and you get to see what would have happened if Henry had just treated this creature with a moment's kindness and recognized him as being, a human being at that. What all could have been different? It's beautiful. It asks philosophical questions, and it provides a lot of like food for thought. Excellent, gripping film, one of my all-time favorite movies. And I think the 1-2 punch of Frankenstein and Bride of is just perfect. They make perfect companion pieces, and I typically do watch them together. The only thing I wish is that the actual bride in Frankenstein and Bride of had been played by the same woman. She's not. Also, Elsa Lanchester as the bride of Frankenstein's monster is phenomenal as well. She's both just beautiful, but in like this kind of twisted way, or just unusual way. But I love like her unnatural stiffness and her bird-like movements. Fantastic, great performance at the end of the movie, especially juxtaposed to her playing Mary Shelley in the beginning of the movie, telling this story and giving us a little window into the creation of the Frankenstein story as told by this young woman who was just coming into her own. Love it. There you have it. That's my ranking of the Universal Monster movies. In the number 9 spot, The Mummy. And 8, we have Phantom of the Opera 1943. 7, Dracula. 6, The Wolfman. 5, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. 4, The Invisible Man. 3, Creature from the Black Lagoon. 2, Frankenstein. And 1, Bride of Frankenstein. I'd love to hear your ranking in the comment area down below. Sorry I didn't include Son of Frankenstein. I don't really like that movie, frankly. I prefer Ghost of Frankenstein. Eat that. Let me know what you guys think of my ranking, and I would love to hear yours in the comment area down below. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.